liberated, freed, released, free from traditional social restraints, sisters, girls or women who share a common ancestry, allegiance, character, or purpose with another or others, fellow Black women or girls.
Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Liberated Sisters. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad, your host, and tonight we have an exciting show for you. Today, we have Sister Attorney Pamela Muhammad, Houston-based attorney, and she will be talking about headlines in the Final Call newspaper along with myself. Our brother, Dr. Ridgely Muhammad of the Nation of Islam Research Group will not be with us tonight. Connections are down. As we know, there is a winter storm across America, ice and snow, among other things. And so Dr. Ridgely, God willing, will be joining us in the near future. And also we have a very special guest with us that will be joining us after the Justice Report. And that is none other than our dear sister, Dr. Christina X. Parks. She's a cellular and molecular biologist, and she'll be talking about chemicals in food and how can we survive against those things, and taking us further into two studies that have come out which confirm, they bear witness to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that we must strive to eat to live, and that preservatives and some of these chemicals that are being put into our foods are very detrimental. Dr. Christina X will make it very plain for us. We have all of this and more coming up. But right now, let's go to Attorney Pamela Muhammad, and we will get into the Justice Report. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Walaikum salam, Sister Charlene, and the Liberated Sisters broadcast. Thank you so much. I'd like to once again say assalamu alaikum to you. And yeah, it's just a lot going on. There's so much going on, Sister Charlene, because, you know, the Final Call newspaper, it keeps us so informed. And we thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for his tireless effort, you know, over these years, not a couple of years, but we're talking about a man who is in his 90s, who has worked tirelessly for, with the Final Call. How long has it been? Over what? 46 years, is that?
Way more. Go
yeah,
ahead.
way more. Okay. So we understand that this paper has held us up in the Black community by giving us great information that we can count on. And I wanted to start off by just congratulating and noticing how our brother Nuri Muhammad, who is just one of the ministers great ministers, wonderful. He really appeals to Black youth and Black men, and he works tirelessly in the community to make our community decent and safe places to live. This was the theme of the article that's on page 6 of the final call. It's called "A Timely Message Shared with the Black Men of Milwaukee." And I think it's very important because it was a event that Brother Nuri had where he brought together Black men, Black youth. And it starts off by talking about how the intention, one of the brothers, FOI student captain, David Muhammad, is quoted as saying that the intention was to be serious and sober-minded as they brought in the new year, talking about self-improvement and making our communities decent and safe places to live. And I thought that article, it's very important because it was a town hall type meeting that occurred in the city of Milwaukee. And it seems like the youth in Milwaukee, as many youth around the country, are suffering from the effects of the criminal justice system, the unemployment, racial injustices. And so many of the people who came out to speak, they were really concerned about creating safe and healthy environments for our young people. And Brother Nuri, I think one of the major points that I thought was so important, he talked about how we have to stop. He said that student minister Nuri Muhammad said there's a difference between those who hope for miracles to solve problems and those who work out formulas to solve them. They had a violence prevention activist, and he talked about the many ills, addressing many of the ills in the city, especially things like education, infrastructure, environmental racism, and gun violence in our community. So again, looking at the formula, Brother Nuri talked about a formula to solve the problems. And so for me, in the legal system, we see patterns. Anytime we're talking about not just hoping, we're talking about identifying some of the patterns that occur in justice in our community to our Black men and women in particular in these systems that we need to teach and give our children knowledge to avoid. That's one of the beautiful things about the Nation of Islam with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The minister mentioned in his opening for the unraveling of a great nation, how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he says here, so we have to grow from nothing to bring back the name and the teachings of the greatest Black man ever to walk amongst us, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Many of his old followers were happy that his name was buried, happy that his work was destroyed. But the minister said, but I loved my teacher. I loved the truth that he taught. I loved the people that he was missioned to raise from the dead level and resurrect us into the most highly civilized people that the world has ever seen. And I bring that up because when we have people like Brother Minister Nuri Muhammad in the community teaching our youth, we know this is high civilization that he is helping to cultivate. So I just want to really quickly talk about the formula and the pattern that I saw with some of the justice articles that are facing our nation. There was another article on page 29 of the final call, and it was about a lady. It's entitled Claudette Colvin, who refused to move before the nation was ready. And she died recently at the age of 86. And this was a sister who, at the age of 15, was arrested for a crime that shouldn't have even been a crime. This lady at the age of 15 in Montgomery, Alabama, was arrested and convicted for violating segregation ordinance, a segregation ordinance. And so again, these are the patterns that we have to teach our youth to avoid, to detect and avoid. Yes, we've had pioneers who were arrested for crimes that shouldn't have even been a crime. This is racism at its best, but this is what our children face today. And this is what our sister Claudette Colvin faced at the age of 15 when she was arrested and convicted for violating a segregation ordinance. Can you imagine in 1955, this lady was March 2nd, 1955, this 15-year-old child was arrested for a bus segregation ordinance because she violated that a bus segregation ordinance. But we know this is the type of injustice and oppression that Black people were facing at that time. It's not, that shouldn't even be a crime, but this is what we face. The other article I wanted to bring out, when we talk about Black people in the criminal justice system who are wrongfully arrested, who are arrested and falsely accused of crimes, people who are convicted for crimes that this system knows they did not commit. And I think we have to, you and I talked about a beautiful article about a beautiful man. This article was a December the 8th, 2025 article, and it's entitled The Life and Legacy of Imam Jamil Al-Amin. I think a quote that's so important: freedom fighter dies while languishing in prison for a crime he did not commit. And so it's so important that our children know that those who do stand up, those who are fighting and trying to empower themselves in their community, there are targets that, you know, that this government and has launched unjustly against our people. So again, born Hubert Gerald Brown in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 1943. H. Rap Brown rose to prominence during the 1960s as a charismatic and electrifying leader in the civil rights movement. As the 5th chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, he became a national figure known for his powerful oratory and unapologetic advocacy for Black empowerment. So I just kind of wanted to give a general synopsis of who our brother was, and that there's a beautiful article written by Brother Michael Z. Muhammad. That's a December 8th, 2025 article, again, about a brother who was targeted and actually languished in prison for a crime he did not commit. And finally, I think it's so important, there is a news story that has been released really today and yesterday about a man out of Dallas, Texas. His name was Tommy Lee Walker. And this brother, he was actually given the death penalty, and he was actually executed at the age of 21. Tommy Walker, he actually was charged with a crime at the age of 19, and he was actually executed at the age of 21. He was falsely accused of murdering a 29-year-old white woman. And I think this is so important because the Dallas is important, again, so our young people can know, as well as this brother's life not being in vain, because we can learn the lessons of history. So this brother was exonerated because now it has been determined that he was not guilty. He always maintained his innocence, but of course, at the age of 21, he was executed. So now the city of Dallas, let's see, the Dallas county officials voted Wednesday to symbolically exonerate him. And he was, you know, and this is someone who was executed nearly 70 years ago for a crime he did not commit. And so we want to say a prayer for his family, because a child lost a father and a woman lost a, you know, a dear, I think this was the child's, you know, I'm sorry, Mr. Walker's child's mother was pregnant at the time, and she delivered really really soon after he was falsely put in jail. And I just wanted to bring out, and I'm going to close this. So when the special session of the Dallas County Commissioner, who unanimously passed this resolution to exonerate him, some of the things they raised, and this is part of the pattern, because we've got to identify these patterns so we can learn how to act around them. He was actually arrested without probable cause. He was interrogated without the assistance of counsel, the denial of a jury representative of his peers, the suppression and misrepresentation of material evidence, and the use of a confession now recognized as unreliable under modern scientific and legal standards. So this is what they concluded in their investigation, that these were egregious violations. But of course, our brother was executed over 70 years ago, from this type of unjust treatment. So again, I wanted to close, but I really like the statement from Brother Nuri's article by one of the ministers, Reverend Lanier, and Reverend Walter J. Lanier, who was a pastor who was present, and he made the comment that, he talked about how Milwaukee and the Black people number 50 out of 50 for the Black population in Milwaukee. But he said that they're suffering from many things, such as segregation and things that he found, were really relevant. But one of the things he said is that he felt like we're failing to develop and cultivate spaces that are healthy for us. And that sounds a lot to me like some of the tenets that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is teaching us in learning how to make our communities decent and safe places to live. So we have to protect our youth, and we have to protect those who don't have legal access to quality legal services and who are walking these streets under the really in these dangerous and perilous times. So let's keep a sober mind when we're looking at these issues. Yes, ma'am.
Walaikum salam, Sister Attorney Pamela. Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Praises be to Allah.
And for those of you, of course, who are interested, you can go to finalcall.com. You can also subscribe, finalcalldigital.com, and you can get those stories right there and more. It is my desire to, in the very near future, bring on some of the great writers of these articles that we are pretty much scratching the surface of. They've done the work, they've spoken to the people, and we can get some more insight into these stories from them. So some of them have already told Liberated Sisters yes, and I look forward to doing that. Now, before we bring on Sister Dr. Christina, I just want to make sure I want to highlight the cover story of the Final Call newspaper by Brother Sister Anisa Muhammad and Nisa Islam Muhammad. And this is regarding Iran. The current cover: Iran resists U.S. threats. Islamic Republic stands firm against bullying and interference. I'm just going to highlight a few of the first paragraphs. It is our lead story for this week. The Final Call is jam-packed, everyone. So let me get to that. And here it is. Okay, everyone is doing just such a great job. I mean, the paper is so full. And so Iran resists these threats. And here is what Sister Nisa and Nisa Islam start out saying. Iranian officials accuse the United States and Israel of orchestrating riots by placing, and you see I'm scrolling it on the screen there, by placing operatives among protesters and carrying out a, quote, coordinated digital warfare campaign fueled by disinformation. This, according to a Press TV, that's an Iranian state-owned news network. Iran continues to stand strong as the United States government issues threats and new sanctions against the Muslim country after peaceful protests turned violent. I could go on into that. We will not. I just wanted to touch on the cover story because we have a lot in the paper, and this is what we decided to go with today. But on the cover, the War of Armageddon, as we were told by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has begun. Just as you mentioned, the unraveling of a great nation, all of the headlines, all of the news, all of the tragedies are the bloodshed, the war. We see the wars, we see the natural disasters, any and everything that we can imagine that is happening, that is coming across our news feeds today. We have been warned about, and we have also been given guidance and instructions about. So it's not to fear. We have the blueprint. And so to take us further into that, and again, finalcall.com, okay, to take us further into some of what we have as headlines before the headlines is Dr. Christina X. Parks. She is a PhD in cellular and molecular biology, and Dr. Parks is here to talk to us about 2 new studies that have just come out that confirm the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about chemicals and poison in our foods, and also what these have to do with the studies are saying they're linked to diabetes type 2 as well as to cancer. Dr. Parks is going to break down for us exactly what these studies are saying, and she's going to make it plain for us. And so let's bring her in right now, Sister Dr. Christina X. Parks. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, ma'am.
Thank you for being with us tonight. And Dr. Parks, Dr. Christina, do you have any opening remarks that you would like to give before we get into our Q&A with you?
No, not at all. I'm here to serve. So
you look so beautiful. Okay, so these studies, I think when we first saw the headline, I know when I did, and let me continue on into this by saying this is something that the Final Call newspaper is covering. And so we look forward to more in depth about this as well from some other experts. But we have Dr. Parks here to really just tell us, because when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, again, we have been warned about this. So why did I have that reaction? It's just when you see it, the warnings and the guidance walking off the pages and you're here with it now, it can be very alarming. So would you tell us about how these studies struck you? What are these studies and what are they saying? And how did you read them, like interpret them from your analysis of them, your study of them, Dr. Parks?
Sure. Where there were 2 new studies that looked at a large cohort of people. And I want to talk about how the studies were done, because then it makes the results a little bit more interpretable.
Okay.
The goal was to look at the potential correlations between certain food preservatives and cancer in one study and type 2 diabetes in the other. But the way they did this is just to monitor people's intake of different types of foods that contain different types of preservatives. And so they tracked the foods and which preservatives were in the foods and the consumption going all the way to the brand of the food that was consumed. And then depending on which foods were consumed and which preservatives they had in them, they made correlations. So the first thing is that actually most food preservatives that they tracked were not really correlated with increases in cancer or type 2 diabetes. The second is that the correlations that they did find were actually really small. So if you find even like 100% or 200% correlation, a 200% increase just means if there's 1 in 1,000 people that are getting cancer, it's now 2 in 1,000. So sometimes we think it's a higher incidence than it is. So when I looked at the overall numbers, it was a very small increase. And the other thing was that these increases were based on the amount of processed foods that you ate, right? And then they specifically broke it down by the different types of preservatives. Now, one of the things that caught my eye right away was that now we have some new preservatives. They're using vitamin C as a preservative. They're using rosemary extract as a preservative. A lot of lunch meats use celery juice as a preservative. So one of the things I noticed is that they actually had a category for these antioxidant preservatives. that were used, and those still showed a correlation. In fact, as I read through it, if you use 2 of these more natural preservatives, and I believe this was in one of the studies, it actually had a stronger correlation to cancer. So why would doing something like using vitamin C and rosemary extract, like those are supposed to be good things, right? Why would that have a stronger correlation with either diabetes or cancer? So my first hunch was that this isn't actually about the preservatives. It's about the food that they're preserving. If you have something that is a low quality food or subject to breakdown, it requires either strong preservatives or more of them. And what if it's not the preservative that is the issue, but the food itself that's causing the problem? So this has actually a strong precedent in our teachings. If you will remember in How to Eat to Live, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad cautions us from eating sardines. So as a biochemist, I always look at what is the reason behind this. So sardines, there shouldn't really be a problem with them. They're not a large fish. There shouldn't be a biological concentration of heavy metals. And then he says, but you can eat the Portuguese sardines. Mm-hmm. So what that tells me is it's not the fish that's the issue. It's the processing. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that if these aren't processed well, what really happens with fish and with many lunch meats and protein products is they break down. And when they break down, they form things like histamine, putrescine, cadaverine. The reason those sound terrible is because they smell terrible. They smell like a dead body, right? And those are really, really harmful to your body. They cause a histamine response, and they cause kind of like an allergic reaction or an immune response. And so I take that as guidance that we should probably stay away from high histamine foods. And meats, especially processed meats, have a tendency to break down. The amino acids and the proteins break down into these slightly more toxic things very easily. And in order to, and if there's any microbes in it, it accelerates that process. So adding the preservatives doesn't get rid of the microbes in the food. It just slows them down. So it really could be the presence of these breakdown products that are associated with certain preservatives, but it's actually the breakdown products that are the problem. In meats, so I do want to clarify. So in meats, this is actually really common. So especially in, if you think of salamis and these preserved meats, and many of them have pork, so we're not eating them anyway, but sometimes you'll see like a beef summer sausage or something. Many of these, they're actually preserved with actual microbes, with bacteria. But when those can actually break down some of the proteins while it's being stored, and they can make what's called these nitrosamines or N-nitroso compounds that are actually known to be toxic to humans. So my hunch, and more study needs to be done, is this is about the food being unclean, right? And we are warned again and again and again about eating unclean foods. When I read through Eat to Live, I see 3 major themes again and again and again. And the first one is it clean, right? We're taught to not eat pork because it's not clean, okay? The second is it digestible? So we're told not to eat beef, not because beef isn't nutritious, but because it's hard to digest. And we're told if we do eat it to make it very digestible, we could stew it. And the same for many beans, we're told not to eat because they're not digestible, okay? And the third is it nutrient rich, and is the way it's prepared making those nutrients bioavailable, not overcooked, but whatever, okay? So there's many different things, souring our bread, things like that. So I'll take a pause here. If you guys have any questions, I can say more.
I just want to add that as you were talking now, just as when we talked earlier about this, I almost threw up in my mouth. I was like, you paint the picture so well. Did I put Attorney Pamela back in? I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Hey, sister, I'm sorry about that. it brought that up again. So I'll let Sister Pamela ask any questions she would have, because I've had so many, and I still do, just in terms of that, some of the compounds that you mentioned, and I'm spinning over here like, what did she say? But go ahead, Sister Pamela, because I do have some, but I've spoken to her about this. I want you to get it in.
This is really hard because chemistry and your knowledge is so high and different from what we know. But from what you're saying, so are the commercial companies, are they engaging in these processes in packing plants? And where is this actually happening at?
So again, this is just any particular company making it. So, but realize that some of these, they're adding vitamin C to actually act as a preservative, or they're adding rosemary extract. So I don't think that the companies are nefarious. Some of them are adding, calcium propionate. That's a gut signaling molecule that has very beneficial effects in your gut. So again, with the exception of nitrates and nitrites, which I'll get into in a minute, most of these preservatives I don't think are the problem. The problem is the food that's being preserved is just not food we should be eating. And that is lunch meats, highly processed meats. And then there are some different fruit products and things like that. And I think with the fruits, it's just a matter of that they might grow mold. We know things like peanuts and different nuts can have aflatoxins. So these are just natural microbes or yeast or molds that are in the food. But we know that chronic exposure to those can actually increase our chances of cancer. So I think that we just need to be very careful of the processed foods that we eat, and the fact that, like, if you try to make something last a really long time, then the quality of it might not be as good. I want to use kind of an example that I actually did a little video on, and it was farmed salmon.
Okay.
So most of the salmon that's out there, it's called Atlantic salmon, and it's actually farmed. And if you go to a restaurant and they offer salmon, that salmon is probably farmed. Well, okay, I'm not against the idea of farming salmon, but what they do is they put these salmon either like in a bay or something, but they put them in these pens where they're really close to each other. And then they throw the salmon food in there. And between the food breaking down and the salmon pooping and peeing, it's just a kind of a polluted, nasty environment. Okay. And what happens is bacteria thrive in this environment, and they don't just thrive in the water. They actually get into the skin and the flesh of the salmon. And when those salmon are harvested, you can rinse them all you want. The microbes are actually in their flesh. And as they package them, no matter how good they are at trying to freeze and package them, anytime that salmon thaws, those microbes start breaking down the flesh and producing things like histamine and putrescine and cadaverine. And it's nasty. It's not clean. As opposed to a salmon that is in a much cleaner environment, let's say, in the Alaskan, ocean, or running up a clean river where they're not in a polluted, bacteria-rich environment. Their flesh is not going to be inundated with these microbes that are going to then continue to break down that fish as soon as it comes to room temperature. So really, it's not even, there's just very little they can do to fix that. It's going to be a high histamine food. It's going to be what I consider an unclean food.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I have, ever since we spoke about these issues on this time around, I don't look at it the same as at all. I went to the grocery store and I was like, I don't know. When you talk about the salmon, and I wanted to go get the video. Is it on your website, or is it on your Instagram?
It's on my Instagram. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to show it. But, Dr. Parks, even with the strawberries, as you were talking about, it's really interesting, as you were saying, that the mold is still there just because you don't see it. But with this salmon, I saw myself asking for wild caught. But first of all, I do vegetarian, I do meat, I don't. It's been hit and miss with it. But now with this information, more understanding of it, it makes it easier for me to stick, if you will, aside from it being Ramadan, right?
Mhm.
Ramadan or our certain fast, it's like, oh, I'm on it. And then next thing you know, I'm off. But it's the knowledge, which is power. And so with the salmon, um, I saw me asking for wild caught, and then I didn't get it anyway, or I didn't cook it because I still was thinking about what you shared just now. Like, it still may be in a net. And some, as my daughter Akila Raisa points out to me, here's the question. Some places say that it is wild caught, but it's, not necessarily that.
So again, I would go back to the study. They did it by the amount of these processed foods that you ate.
Okay.
So the more you eat, so if you think it's wild caught and it's not, it's one time, that's minor,
Okay.
as opposed to continually eating food that is, proteins are especially problematic because they break down into these compounds, the nitrates and nitrites that they're preserved with. They take the most preservatives because they're the hardest to preserve, which means they degrade the easiest, which means they have the most potential for being unclean, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so preserved meats are ones that we should avoid. Now, some of the whether they're dried fruits, it's probably going to depend on the brand and where they get them from and how they process them, right? So, guidance to prefer fresh food, fresh fruit that is well washed is always going to be. Now, one of the things that I will say, so I bought some organic turkey lunch meat. I don't eat a lot of lunch meat because processed meats aren't great for you. But I was specifically paying a lot of attention because I am really sensitive to histamine issues, which is like a breakdown product in this meat. And I get congested sinuses whenever I have a histamine response, right? It's kind of like an allergic response that you might get with allergies.
Yeah.
I ate some histamine. It's a good brand name. It's preserved with good preservatives and it's organic. And I had a histamine response because no matter what they do, it's really hard to prevent the breakdown of this meat into something that produces these unclean molecules, I guess I'll say, like histamine, putrescine, cadaverine, some other things. And then the different, they're protein breakdown products. And that your meat isn't good when you open it and it smells so terrible, right?
I gotta go. Yeah.
but I'm just saying that breakdown happens before it gets really, really bad smelling.
It's already broken. That's amazing. That's amazing. No meat is good to eat. If you have to eat it, I appreciate how you're letting
I didn't say no meat was good to eat. I said highly processed meats.
Right. No, you did it. You
Oh,
did it. I was thinking, I was about to, that I was going into to get that from How to Eat to Live, but I was saying along with that, thank you for explaining, what's before us and what we can do, because sometimes like we hear rules and we also just cut and dry stop, but why do we fall off, quote unquote, the wagon, if you will, right? As you said, you know what it's about. Let me tell you what I'm trying to say. Like, I remember when you first started reading How to Eat to Live, and you just went right into it, and you said the fasting was easy, and you told us that here just now. You look at it and you ask the questions why. Oh, this is why. And if you don't mind me sharing, I remember, and I've heard others say it before, but what you said to me stuck out was like, because you know the damage of certain things, what it will do to your body, so you really adhere to it, and I loved that. So I want to go and look for some information in the back. Attorney Pamela, would you continue? And Dr. Christina as well. Thank you.
Okay. And so for me, this understanding this simplistically, so preservatives are used when? Because I guess I don't understand who puts the preservatives in the food. Is it the people that grow, that groom the animals, raise the animals? Or these people that, is it in the factory where it's made into this
factory,
long-term?
right?
Okay.
And the most preservatives are going to be put in foods that have the greatest tendency to go bad.
Okay.
Right. And that is like, meat isn't something that you can just leave out. Like a potato is just a potato. It doesn't need to be preserved. It starts to go bad and rot, you just throw it out. You're like, potato has gone bad, right? But you can't leave a piece of meat at room temperature. And if you made like a roast or something, you can only, you can cook it and maybe eat it in a day or two. But if you want to make like lunch meat, you have to think like, what is that? How long should that last? And how do we have a package of it that, has several months that says, unless you open it, it's still okay.
Okay.
Right. So to make that last several months, you've got to put some preservatives in it.
Okay.
Right. Even if it's sealed, right. You have to put some preservatives in it. So think things like, some of the things like when they used to use the old, like now we have modern summer sausage, it has a lot of chemicals in it, but they actually used to use bacteria and salt to cure. Think cured meats. You have to cure it with salt and with all kinds of other stuff. The reason they put all that salt in it is otherwise bacteria would basically eat it, and make it go bad. They would metabolize it and it would get really nasty. You gonna be okay, Sister Charlene? She's like, I know. She's like, you're ruining it for me. Well, maybe that's a good thing.
I'm having deja vu from our earlier conversation.
So, interesting.
Yeah. So when you think of like meats that we're trying to get to last longer, we're putting preservatives. Now they've moved from more chemical type preservatives to more natural ones. And this was what was kind of surprising, that some of these natural preservatives that we know are things that are pretty good for you, like vitamin C and rosemary extract, were also correlated with these higher rates of like cancer and diabetes. That's where I was like, it's probably not the preservative that's really the problem. It's the fact that the meat is subject to breakdown, and the meats themselves, like some may be better and some may be worse depending on how they're processed. But the more you eat, the more likely you're going to get some of these that have the breakdown products in the meat themselves. Even if they're tiny amounts, over time, they're toxic and they build up, right? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said every food has some amount of toxins in them. But these preserved meats specifically are higher. But then it also had correlates with some like different fruits and things. And because we know like one of the things that they would put like sulfates and sulfites in is like dried apricots and stuff. So, many of us are trying to eat healthier. And so we're like, well, I need something that's not, I can't always take an apple or an orange. It might go bad or whatever, right? Or it's going to be in my bag and it might get bruised or whatever. So we might think we're going to grab some dried fruit. But when you start looking at them, a lot of times you'll see they have these preservatives and they have sulfates and sulfites. And some of them, the color doesn't look really great. And so the question is, and then many of those, they're fruits. So they had some amount of mold on them. So even though they're dried, even though they have preservatives in, many of them still have some amount of fungus on them, some amount of mycotoxins, which is like a fungal toxin. And even though they're low amounts, if that's something that you snack on every day, your exposure to those is increased.
Amazing. See, and this is what I was experiencing with my fave dried mangoes. Someone reminded me, sun-dried maybe. I'm like, just leave them alone. Just back up.
One thing you can do is dry your own fruit, like dry your own apples, go to the orchard, pick your apples, wash them, and dry them in a food dehydrator yourself. And then, put them in a plastic bag and just eat them within a few days or a few weeks. Some people even put them in canning jars. So then, usually you can put like a vitamin C, like sometimes you'll put them in water with a little vitamin C so they don't just color or whatever. But, I used to dry apples. I used to dry zucchini all the time. Zucchini chips are really sweet. So those are some options. And it really gets to, if we're going to be healthy, we have to spend some time in the kitchen and we cannot rely on convenience. I know I usually don't eat any kind of like a summer sausage because most of them have pork, but I was recently giving it as a gift around Christmas time. You see them in the stores and I was gifting a beef summer sausage. So I picked one up for myself and they're tasty. Let's just face it, they're tasty. Yeah. But like after I, listen to this, I'm like, yeah, okay, no. It just reminds you, just like when I had the organic turkey, because sometimes it's convenient going on a road trip. We'll just make some organic turkey sandwiches and bring them in the car, right? But when I had a histamine response, it just reminds me of the breakdown products in the meat that no matter, even if the manufacturer is trying to do a really good job, it's just really hard to preserve meat well. It's something that needs to be, take a cut of meat. That's why we're told not to eat ground beef, is because there's bacteria on the outside. If you sear that in a pan and then roast it, you're probably going to be okay. But if you grind it and mix the bacteria all in and then cook your burger medium rare, you have a bunch of bacteria in the middle of that burger.
Wow, it's all up in there.
Yeah.
You made me think of something in terms of the organic foods. One thing I was under the impression of is it was spoiling because it was fresh. It was organic. Going back to what you already made clear here, but that was one of the other things I thought about. It's like, no, not necessarily. It's because it's a lot of stuff on it. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said, what we don't grow, we won't eat. You all remember him saying that, and we're so at that time right now, which is why I appreciate Dr. Ridgely and others who are with him, and you, Dr. Christina, those of you all who are growing your food, who are examples for us, and the helpers at the Michigan Forum, as well as Muhammad Forums in Georgia down with Dr. Risley. It's just a beautiful thing that we have the Staple Goods Project. I'll put that information there, but I just wanted to pause and say I thank God for you all for that. You've grown your own Navy beans and more.
Right? Yeah, I think I have enough for about a year. So, I mean, I did well this year.
That out. Anyone have questions or comments for Dr. Christina X Parks? Of course, please feel free to put them there. Go ahead, Sister Pamela.
So I had a quick question. So just like you talked about dehydrating your own vegetables and fruits, so does that also go with possibly buying your own beef? Like, I know a long time ago, my dad, they used to go buy cows, or they go in on a cow. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you is also, didn't you recently talk about canning? Does canning help to avoid some of these types of preservatives?
Absolutely, because you can choose what you put in it. So most of the time, I usually go ahead and can with a pressure canner. Some people use the water bath, depending on what you're making. But even with like pasta sauce, I'm just like, I'd rather use a pressure canner, make sure it's whatever's in there is dead. But I put up food for years, and then you're putting less preservatives in it. And if you eat like the pasta sauce from the store, it's got a ton of sugar in it too. So you can make it to your taste, and once you process it and put it in the jars, it's usually much, much healthier. And when we we grew our own chickens, and that was before I was in the nation, so I didn't know, we are not advised necessarily to eat chicken, but the first principle is it clean? So you're probably better to eat some clean chicken that you grew yourself and washed and like put it in the freezer, parted it out, right? Because the reason I started growing chickens is because I wanted to make soup. I wanted to make the broth. It's really healthy for you. But like, who knows what they dip those chickens in the store in? Do you know what I mean? To kill all the stuff that's on the outside. And who knows, that processing plant, when you do that over and over again, it's just very hard to keep clean without really toxic chemicals, right? When you're doing a few for your family, even if you're doing like 10 or 15, we used to do 5 a day, process 5 chickens. And we used to get, a half or a quarter of a cow from our neighbor, where you drive by and you'd see the cow eating the grass. Then you take it to the butcher. They would butcher your cow specifically into the parts you wanted, and they process it and shrink wrap it immediately and freeze it. So I just always felt that, it wasn't some big process. Like, you don't know what happens in those things. If like something went down and everything sat out for a couple of days and they didn't want to ruin it all, so they went and processed it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I think they try, but you just don't know, where the more local you have, or the people that then you can, I feel you have more control over. And if you don't like that processor, you have a bad experience, you can find somewhere else local.
Okay.
Great. Thank you both. I put this here as we were talking because, and by the way, that just reminds me of the good old days at home. I mean, we had meat grinders up there, our own, and different things, and going to the shop, and even now the halal markets. But there's just so much different ways to do it. I really appreciate what you're sharing, Dr. Christina.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not, on the one level, I know I've heard it before, but not this way necessarily, or forgot. This is taking us back to our root. It's not, well, rocket science, but it is science that we've gotten away from. So to be able to have you here to break that down is really great. And we can stay, of course, with the studies, but I just wanted to point out, as we're talking about what you're saying, some of what's in the final call not to, we wanted to make sure to highlight the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's article. We know we have the special section, the United States policy of depopulation. And here he's talking about the dangers and risk of GMOs, genetically modified organisms. So, Sister Pamela, would you just highlight the first one or two paragraphs there? I want to infuse this into our dialogue. And everyone, I'm bringing this up because during the run up to COVID-19, and especially during the pandemic and the lockdowns, Dr. Christina X was a very integral and remains an integral part for us in understanding the science, what has been happening, what was happening then. And see, this policy has not gone away. It's just in different forms. I want to bring up something a little bit later, but would you do that, Sister Pamela? And we'll continue. Dr. Parks, if you can comment on the GMOs as well.
Yeah. And the thing, Sister Charlene, can you enhance it? Can you make the picture bigger? I don't want to get too close to the screen.
Oh,
maybe I can put myself on.
No, I got you. Here it is.
Okay, here it is.
Okay.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. So you want to start off. Can you move it down just a bit? It's a little too high. The dangers and risk of GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Yes, ma'am, if you can go up just a little more, because we know that these articles are taken from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's excerpts from the time and what must be done. The particular series that this one was found in, I can't see it on the screen, but let me begin by reading.
No, I apologize. I'll tell you that because I see now what you're looking at. And thank you all for bearing with me. Editors, note the following article. These are excerpts, as you said, Sister Pamela. He did an unprecedented 58-week lecture series, and that was in 2013. And this is from part 38, The Time and What Must Be Done. And so you want me to go right here, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's fine. And so the masses of Americans, Blacks in particular, are suffering from other problems produced by genetically modified organisms. What is the definition of a genetically modified organism? From the American Heritage Medical Dictionary, it gives the definition: an organism whose genetic characteristics have been altered by the insertion of a modified gene or a gene from another organism using the techniques of genetic engineering. And the definition of gene is a molecular unit of heredity of a living organism. In lesson number 2 of our Supreme Wisdom lessons given to us by Master Fard Muhammad, he raises the question, what is a devil? And Muhammad answers that question, it is a grafted man which is made weak and wicked, or any grafted live germ from original is devil. By inserting, you are grafting into a life germ or seed something that changes the nature of that seed. And when you change the nature of the seed from its original state, you are making what is referred to as devil. Once you graft from the original, then you are producing that which is an opposer to the original and of the original. So the moment that a genetically modified seed is taken by the wind and blown into a field of natural, organic growing corn or wheat or soy, it begins to destroy that field.
Thank you. And
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for that, everyone. That's in the current edition of the final call. Are we all here? Let me see. I'll take that. The reason, we're here. The reason I wanted to, in part, bring that out, Dr. Parks, is to ask you what we're seeing with these preservatives. Is that any different or slightly different? That's not like the GMOs pretty much changed the makeup of the organism, but what about the preservatives? Is that Similar?
No, I think it's very different. The preservatives are, and again, you can use natural preservatives, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
that's very different. That's just adding a chemical. And, it's the food that's already adulterated. It's like you're trying to save the food. The
Okay.
food is already going bad. You should have eaten it, when it was fresh made, but you didn't. So you're trying to save it from going bad.
Oh,
With
okay.
the GMOs, I have to say that it did turn out to be exactly like the minister has told us. At first, they were basically inserting these genes into different organisms, and they thought, well, it's a gene that will help pests not to eat it, or it was a gene that will actually help it make more vitamins. So in theory, it sounded good, but in practice, what they found is that it did actually change the nature of the organism in ways that made it toxic. And they didn't really understand why, because they didn't think it should happen that way in theory, but in practice, it actually did change it. And so we're not actually absolutely sure why, because theoretically it should have worked. But the truth is, it does actually change the nature of the organism. Adding one gene from another organism actually changes the nature of it. And they're still trying to figure out why that is, such that your body doesn't digest, absorb. Like, it just sort of changes everything about it in a way that was not and is not expected. And so they have chosen to try to kind of ignore this. But the truth is, it is changing the nature of each of these genetically modified organisms.
Wow. I remember. Thank you for that. I will remove that for now. Come back, Sister Attorney Pamela. I'll add you in. I remember that when we were being forewarned of what was happening with Monsanto and some of the other companies, and how farmers were being told, like their GMOs were flying over into to the neighbors' crops. It's just something to see how all of this is coming right out full circle. But Sister Attorney Pamela, you had anything to say?
No, ma'am. Not on the genetically modified. No, ma'am.
Thank
I
you.
did
Thank
want to
you.
make a comment. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and we will get back to the two studies, but I
Okay.
do want to mention that Brother Kevin Muhammad of Maida Place, who is also with our Nation of Islam Ministry of Agriculture, and he assists us with getting our staple goods here in the West in Los
Okay.
Angeles. The staple goods project is up and ready for order, I understand. So I want to look at that. So Dr. Christina, would you give us some more insight into what can we do? Because I know we talked about sourdough. There's so many different things that ways we can. I don't want to say combat. I want to say, things that we can eat. It's like we constantly hear, well, and I've been a party to this. I've done this. Well, we can't eat this, or no, we don't eat pork, or we don't eat this, or I can't eat this. Sometimes it would come off as, oh no, and sometimes it would just come off as, oh, I'm sorry, at the family gathering you cooked all of this, but I can't have it, and you just see the sadness on people's faces. But we can have so much out here. If you let us know what those things are, more of those, as you have been telling us, according to your analysis of the studies and how to eat to live. And thank you.
Sure. Before we segue from the GMOs, I do just want to mention that the latest studies from the COVID vaccines and have basically shown that due to the Pfizer contamination, we are all now genetically modified. That both who have taken the vaccines and just all of us because we've been exposed to the contamination. The Pfizer contamination is going to affect all of us. Now they are taking cells out of people who have turbo cancers and studying those cells and finding this genetic information from the vaccines integrated into the cancers. And while it is going to affect those who are vaccinated, probably most, it is actually transmissible to all of us through our guts, through our gut bacteria. And the way that the genetic engineering was done, it targets human cells. This genetic information can get into the gut bacteria, which we all spread to each other. We all spread bacteria, can get into our guts, can get into our cells and integrate into our DNA, and even get into our sex cells and integrate into the germ line and be conveyed to our offspring. So when you talk about GMOs, unfortunately, many of us are now genetically modified and are making the spike proteins in our bodies.
Yes. And isn't that something that you all bore witness to? When the Honorable Minister...
Yes, we said that this is going to happen, and they told us that it wouldn't happen. And now we are actually having studies showing that it is happening in real time. And they're and in those cells that they're finding that have it, those are cancer cells. It's causing the cells that are making the spike protein to become cancerous. And they're finding these genetic elements. They're a tool for molecular biology. These genetic elements, they are actually finding hundreds of copies of these genetic elements, because it turns the cells into a manufacturing plant for these genetic elements called plasmids. They're finding hundreds of copies in these cells that have become cancerous. So it's worse than we had even surmised. So, but that's a whole, maybe a topic for a whole nother. Yeah, there we go. Find residual DNA. Yes, exactly. Oh, yes, this is right in our this week's final call. There you go.
Yeah, sorry for popping it back out. I'm just popping in.
Yeah, no, there it is. Yes, they find the residual DNA, and that's what that DNA is. It has the SV40 promoter. This is a mammalian promoter, a mammalian origin of replication, which causes the genetic information to the DNA to replicate itself inside our cells, to insert itself inside our cells, and to transcribe and translate and to become a manufacturing plant for the spike protein. And they knew that they could have made it so it only would work in bacterial cells, but they chose elements that would work in human cells.
Okay, and that's mammalian. Got it. I was about to say, what's mammalian? Like, oh, that's mammalian. Oh, yeah, it's rewind. But it's like, now we see that it's happening. We also know what the solutions are. So, I mean, we're different. People affected with that spike protein are different. So now the effect of that, how can we change and not be the effect of that? Because I'm hearing of people, again, just what you all warned about, the scientists that came and were witness to why we shouldn't take it, as we were told, legs, really tree trunk sized legs.
Yeah, from clotting and whatnot. So I do have, I'll just speak to a couple of things here, because it's actually pretty complicated. I do have a spike detox protocol on my website, which is vi-ta.org, vi-ta.org. So, but I would say there's a couple of things. One, once it's in your cells, one of the things that will help is fasting. It may or may not be enough. That's why I have a spike detox protocol that I do in addition to fasting. So fasting will help the body. So the thing is, so you might have these cells that you're like, oh my gosh, I've got this foreign DNA. It's integrated into my DNA. It's in my cell. The body is designed to destroy aberrant cells. Your immune system is designed to destroy aberrant cells. So I think to have a positive attitude and to do your fasting and to do the things that you're doing. And then if you're concerned, you can actually go, watch my spike detox protocol and take that next step. But I do want to say that your body is designed to destroy these aberrant cells. So, and also your mindset makes a difference too. So if you believe that your body is going to find and destroy these cells, it's going to be more likely to. So your body is completely capable of that. Some people may need additional support. Some people may need to address the gut, where this is most likely to be the most problematic. There's some things like fucoidan, which is found in seaweeds like bladderwrack, that can help bind and sequester and kind of destroy some of the stuff going on in the gut. I talk more about a lot of that stuff in my spike detox protocol. But the bottom line is that even though your cells may incorporate this or be mutant, your body is trained to find and destroy those cells. So it's not like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the story or anything. So it's always good to be positive, but also to be as proactive as possible.
Thank you. What's your website again? Oh.
vi-ta.org. vi-ta.org.
That's great.
I only have a subscription. Come on, get a break.
That's fine. We've been moving between topics, so.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question. So, Dr. Parks, you bring up the gut. Has there been some kind of increase in problems with the gut as a result of this whole COVID pandemic?
Absolutely.
Because things real quick, probiotics, that is a term that I hear so much, and I don't remember hearing about that. So could you please help me out with this?
So a couple of things. I'm in contact with Dr. Sabine Hazen, who's one of the world's top gut health workers. And she has actually typed all the bacteria in the gut. And people would have really bad gut problems. Some of them would have a condition called Clostridium difficile, which is an overgrowth of a really bad bacteria that can be lethal. And so she would try to figure out, actually, they would do like fecal transplants where they would take somebody else's poop and put it in these people that were about to die, and they would get better because those other people would have the right bacteria from their gut. So she started typing people. And what she found is the people that were healthiest had a lot of different types of bacteria in their gut. And she actually started looking at which ones and finding out which ones, like, we all need bifidobacteria is really, really essential. And it's really essential for babies. And after this COVID, these babies are being born with no bifidobacteria, which is absolutely essential for their gut to digest food and to make the right signaling molecules and to keep their brain in an anti-inflammatory state. So what she has found, even prior to COVID, is that our gut microbiome diversity had just tanked. And I would think the biggest reason for this is glyphosate, the Roundup that's being sprayed on our food. There are other things as well, lots of antibiotics and stuff like that. But it was already really bad. But after COVID, there are many people who have done studies showing that the COVID virus actually infected our gut bacteria and destroyed our good gut bacteria, so that everybody has less gut bacteria, and the ones they have are not the good ones as much. And when that happens, you end up not being able to digest your food. You end up having leaky gut, which causes like allergic type responses and food sensitivities and autoimmune issues and bad immune system issues. So there's a lot to that. But basically, she found that basically the virus was infecting our good gut bacteria and destroying them, and that it was kind of cyclical. People who had a really resilient microbiome did a lot better with COVID, and people who had a poor one did very poorly with COVID. But in general, COVID kind of almost destroyed everybody's microbiome. But some people's was able to, if they were more resilient, it bounced back better. But she found that things like ivermectin, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, taken during COVID and maybe a little bit afterwards, helped the microbiome to bounce back. And she found when a mother, so these babies were being born without these key bacteria in their gut. She found that when mom took the ivermectin and the vitamin C and whatever and was nursing, that the baby's bacteria like went south, like really bad, just destroyed them, but that it rebounded and it became normal again. So yeah, I mean, to me, that's really good news, right? We can't hear you, Sister Pamela. You need to unmute yourself.
I said thank you for that. That's very interesting. And so yeah. So this word probiotics, does that have anything to do?
Yes, it does. So probiotics are actually trying to put back the good gut bacteria.
Okay.
But what her work also found was that a lot of probiotics didn't have the bacteria in them they said they would. And she found also that sometimes there's something called a prebiotic. So the probiotics are actually acting adding back the bacteria themselves, theoretically. Like sometimes it works, sometimes the product isn't that great, right? Or maybe they think it worked, but I don't know, it sat out too long. Who knows what?
Yes.
But the prebiotics are like different starches and like seaweeds and different things that you can eat that actually feed the good gut bacteria.
Mhm.
So beans, like navy beans, are a very prebiotic food.
Okay.
And so they can help to feed your gut bacteria. So it's a whole science of what can be good. Like artichokes are really good for your gut bacteria, which I love artichokes. Garlic is very good. But one of the things they found in general is that herbs, because think about herbs are from plants, and plants, they have to resist bacteria and fungus and everything in the wild, right? It's like biological warfare. When you eat herbs, they tend to select against the bad bacteria and for the good bacteria while they have other positive effects. So we're talking about sort of healing herbs. So they found that herbs can be one of the strongest things for adjusting the microbiome in a healthy way towards rejuvenating the good bacteria and selecting against the bad bacteria. Sometimes if you just eat these kind of starchy foods that feed the bacteria, it can feed the good ones, but sometimes it'll feed the bad ones if they've overgrown as well.
You know what? Talking about overgrown, whenever I think about the data that we learned and how what you just said about leaky gut, etc., what do we do? Because, I have that apron. I was like, an apron. I would look at that and say, what is that? And I'm like, oh my God, that's leaky gut. Help.
Well,
Help me.
I wouldn't say that the apron is leaky gut. Mostly what it probably is menopause.
Gotta go. It's got to go.
So one of the things that I would say, and I noticed it as menopause too, I was just like, oh my goodness, I thought I was doing so well, is one, to give yourself some grace and to realize that stress increases cortisol, menopause increases cortisol,
Okay.
beating yourself up increases cortisol.
Okay.
Trying to go to the gym 16 times a day, a week because you want to lose all the weight increases cortisol. So some people start working out harder and they actually gain more weight because it increases their stress, increases their cortisol.
Okay.
So I believe the Quran says that, like our first duty to Allah is prayer. And in this, what I want to say is that prayer is a neurological regulation that decreases cortisol. So finding our connection to God is actually probably the first thing, because one, most of us are emotional eaters, right? No matter how well we're doing Eat to Live, give us a really bad day and we're at 10 o'clock at night digging through the cupboard.
Everything. On the demand.
So I would say that, finding that place of peace is absolutely central to regulating your neurobiology, decreasing your cortisol, balancing your hormones, and also sitting with whatever is bothering you so that you're not, emotional eating. So that place of prayer or connection to God, I think, is actually the first place.
Thank you for that. We have a question here from Sister Helen, and I did have Sister Dr. Christina's website up. We'll put it back up again because we have some webinars coming up. Also, how to eat to live and how to purchase that. But Sister Helen asked, is it best to eat the garlic/herbs whole versus cooking them with foods?
Gosh, I'm not an herbalist, so I'm going to kind of defer on that question. I mean, herbalists have put together blends, like some of them, you can get in a capsule. So those herbal blends are really good. I would say that they're kind of like a medication for right now, because we're in a time when we have so much coming at us, like the COVID and stuff. So in that term, you're using them medicinally. But if you're putting them in their foods and cooking with them, they're also good in that context. So, but if you're using them medicinally, then, obviously getting with someone who is a skilled herbalist or getting the herbal blend from someone who's putting it together, knows what they're doing, is going to be key. Garlic is also, extremely powerful for regulating the microbiome.
And we can have as much as we want, according to
Yeah, it also helps to upregulate your body's production of glutathione, which is its natural antioxidant. So it helps your body make things that are very powerful for detoxing the body, for reducing inflammation. For your garlic and onions.
Wonderful, wonderful. That too. And now we have a question from Sister, or a request from Sister Kava Muhammad. Teach on cortisol. I seek refuge in Allah. Oh, okay. Sister
Yeah,
Kava.
she's just confirming.
I need to really go to get glasses. Thank you for that. Yeah, when I found out that we could have as much garlic and onion as we wanted, I was really, I was like wowed by that. There's just so much, when you read How to Eat to Live, or each time it's like reading the Quran, you get something new, or you see it differently because you're different, but it's just a beautiful thing. It's not restrictive, it's here's life. Here's how to make the most and the best, and how to prolong your life. But
So here's the thing, like, remember the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that, like, after he was given Eat to Live and direction, he kind of experimented on himself to see if it would work, right?
Right.
And so, like, lately, that's what I've done, because, like, well, and it's like every day. So you might even do well for a while, and then things happen, get chaotic, you kind of fall off the wagon. But I realized, like, so I kind of would try to identify what are my stress points, right? Like, and maybe for me, it's eating late, eating after 7 p.m. I'll find myself, like, maybe I'll eat a little too early because I'm feeding my daughter. I'll eat between 3 and 5. And then around 9, I'm like looking for a snack. And then here's the thing. I read somewhere that, like, when you eat later, it actually compromises your sleep and makes your body more inflammatory. So then I decided to do an experiment. Not that I was trying to eat late, but on the times when I compromised and I ate late, I monitored my sleep. And I found that when I didn't eat later, my sleep quality was better and I had less inflammation. And so then I was like, would you rather have a really good night of sleep or a snack?
Very right.
And quite honestly, I would rather have a really good night of sleep.
Yes,
so as much as, like, we'd all like to think we're perfect, the truth is that's why I try to teach on some of these. And I'm learning too, because when we see it and feel it, then we're not like fighting it. We're like, this is actually what makes me feel better.
Yeah, and you dance and you flow with it, but you understand it, and like that stress factor is a big piece. As a journalist, as a writer, or whatever, whatever we do, there's a stress factor for every person attached to whatever it is that they do. I just developed a habit of wanting to have a crunch. What is that about? This crunch effect, and then there's this sweet and this salty effect at a certain point of writing. It's like I'm in a rhythm and I'm like, okay, let's go. So why do you have to eat? Just go, right? What is that about?
Yeah, I think we all struggle with that, with the different craving or whatever, and how to deal with it. But I think that, like, the first step is honesty. Okay, like, and then just asking yourself, for each of us, it may be different. And can I replace it with something, right? Do I need to move? Can I get a fidget spinner to fidget in my hand while I'm writing? Like, what can help me, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, putting it in your mouth is kind of like, oh my goodness, what is this in my hand and why is it in my mouth?
No look past. The refuge prayer at least 7 times a day really is. I was experiencing something stress recently, and one of our beautiful brothers was like, whoa, you need to say the refuge prayer about 20 times. And I was like, oh yeah, we have something. But okay, here. Question, Samuel Clark, let's put it up. I recently learned that mushrooms are a fungus of the earth. Thus, a poison and poisons in the right dosages can heal, I've heard. Well, what do you all have to say about the RYZE mushroom coffee? What is RYZE?
It's a brand of mushroom coffee that's really popular. So there are many mushrooms that are popular. People are really struggling with their health, and especially with neurological issues. Supposedly some mushrooms can help. My take, I actually haven't read in Eat to Live where it says no mushrooms, but I've been told no mushrooms. And when I look at the biochemical principles behind Eat to Live, I also notice like no shellfish and things like that. So the chitin that is in some of the shellfish is the same thing that is in mushrooms. And I think there may be something about the actual makeup of the cell wall of both mushrooms and fungus and like some shellfish that is detrimental to our bodies. Now, I mean, shellfish are also unclean and have, different histamine causing and toxins and stuff too. So I guess my take is I think that there might be actually something about the cell wall that's detrimental. So it's a cost benefit. Like many people take medications and the medications themselves are poisons too. So if the mushroom works better than what your doctor would prescribe, maybe you take the mushrooms. For me, I'm looking for options like herbs and things that can work that don't necessitate the use of mushrooms, because I do think that there probably is something to it. And I think that it has to do with the cell wall of the mushrooms and the fungus. So I would like to study it more to understand what that is and to understand about the cost benefit of them. Now, if you have someone that's severely impaired and it makes them functional, that's up to you. I haven't needed to use any of those mushroom coffees, or there's like lion's mane for your brain health and many others. So
Thank you. Thank you for your question, Brother Samuel and Scott. One thing he brought to mind for me was, and I enjoyed this coffee. I experienced it at fellow believers' homes, but Organo Gold, and I have an image, but it's Organo coffee. They're saying that it's made with Ganoderma, the gold behind Organo. It's an herb staple used in Asia, and it's gaining notoriety in the Western world. I'm not here to ask you to endorse or not endorse anything. I'm just wondering, like, is that a mushroom? Because some people say it is, but I
I
don't
have
know.
no idea. I'm not familiar with it at all.
We're not gonna throw stuff out like that after I did.
So I wanted to really quick, Dr. Parks, you gave us a really great incentive for canning, because someone like myself, I always thought the canning was for storing food for a time when we may not have food, which of course is for that. But I think listening to you were kind of indicating that it's just a better overall product that we should be eating because it doesn't have these preservatives in it too. Is that correct?
Yes. And in fact, I work a lot, and 2 years ago, my ex-husband was like, do you want to have a garden over here? And I was like, yes. And, the years I didn't have a garden, like I go to the store and I look at all the stuff that is in like something as simple as pasta sauce. And I was like, and then it wouldn't even taste that good. And I'd be like, one, it just tastes better. But like when I cut corn off the cob, like it's my corn. There's nothing in there but corn. Like I don't put any preservatives or whatever. And when I make pasta sauce, there's no preservatives in there. There's not one chemical in there. It's just garlic and onions and oregano and whatever. So I think the quality of the food, and that's why we grew chickens too, so that I could have the chicken, and we would always have a chicken for Thanksgiving or whatever. And the idea is that it's clean. It's clean food, right?
That's awesome.
I'm gonna bust you out right now. I'm gonna expose Sister Dr. Christina can cook. Okay. I'm just gonna say, if you ever had any of her food, Sister can cook. She's there way, and it's fresh. Go ahead.
I was going to say, even things like lettuces and whatever, they put chemicals on those to keep them fresh. Like you'll never look at store lettuce or arugula or anything again, because it wilts so fast. And you're like, is this good? And like maybe some of the leaves are slimy. And like when you have a garden, you just go cook. You cut it fresh, you wash it, and you eat it. And so you just don't have, and the thing is, like your potatoes that you grow, those will last 3 months, and then you don't even have to can them right away. Like you can can them after Thanksgiving if you still have some. So your carrots will last 3-4 months. And then, a lot of times I would wait and see if I ate them all. And if I didn't, I would, can the rest and then make a potato soup out of them. So yeah, the quality of the food is just so much higher.
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter and she's a great cook too. And as a matter of fact, I'm like, she cooks for me most of the time now. And for our family, I'm like, cook for us, please. But sometimes she'll call and she'll say, why do we go and buy these things? Or why do we eat out? It's just like, it's so easy. But of course, we're at different dispensations in our lives. And so for people who this may not resonate with because they just don't have the time, the mom or the father or the college student, they're working 2 and 3 jobs, they're just trying to get something that feels like they ate. What can we say to share with them to uplift? And speaking to me too about get the pot, you can grow it in your home, start where,
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, like growing stuff in your home is not a huge return on your investment. You like to do it. That's great. You can get started. But a lot of times, you could, you get that big bag of navy beans. Like I'm, mostly here by myself, but I make a huge pot of navy beans and I put it in the little freezer jars, and so each freezer jar is like 1 to 2 servings. And so that's waiting for me. So like prep ahead of time so that you have easy options. Like if I don't have anything, I can go run a jar of navy bean soup under the faucet and I have some kind of food. And the other thing I would say is just step by step, develop healthy, good for you meals that you love, that are good for you, and integrate like maybe 1 a month or a month and a half. Like if you find that like, I know that this is not the healthiest eating, whatever it is I'm making, find something that you love. Like, I love pho or like, like a soup.
Oh my God, I do too.
And that's like comfort food for me. So if that's going to prevent you from eating stuff that you didn't want, and soup broth is actually really healthy and healing for your body.
When I visited my mom, my family, we had a death in our family, my little cousin Sean. So I found myself just having to extend about 4 or 5 days. And I realized part of it was being able to decompress and nearly process what was going on emotionally. But the other part was also because my mom made soup. It was just that love of being home, and also some of the believers there, and some of the comfort, and it was just felt so good because she made a stew, and I didn't eat the meat because I did not want to have anything in terms of digestive problems. I was already,
struggling
because of emotional or whatever, but it just felt good. Like my mom's 92. I hope I can put a picture up of her in a minute. I'm going to do that. I promise. I always promise in the show.
I mean, I'm very busy and I still cook. I still have a garden. And part of it is actually just giving yourself permission to, because this is actually our lives and we manifest what we choose. And I mean, there are days when, we're all like, why did I decide to have this garden? But I realized, what do I want my life to be like? And you might not be able to make a change overnight, but part of it was just us deciding what we're doing is important and not letting our minds or society tell us that me sitting here in the garden is not a good use of my time, or that me in the kitchen. I'm very, like, my work is very sort of masculine. I'm processing scientific information and papers. And so moving into my feminine and just going and humming to music while I chop some vegetables is super therapeutic.
That's true.
And I thought, what is really more important to me than my daughter's health? Honestly, my ex-husband is a skydiving instructor. And as we juggled her between my job and his job skydiving, he was taking her out there and stopping by the gas station, getting her chips and a soda and things like this. And then she started to have signs of endometriosis. And I was like, she has special needs. I don't need a special needs daughter with all of these chronic illnesses. Like, this is not okay. So I made a distinct effort to have a full organic meal, like on the table within 15 minutes of when she gets home at school at 3, because, they get home hungry. And if you don't have something nutritious, they're going to put some garbage in their mouth or wine for something, right? And so I got her home and fed her a good meal every day that I, get her from school. And that reversed itself.
Beautiful.
So it really does make a difference. And I am not judging because I've been in survival mode too. I've been there, but it really does make a difference.
Yes, it does. Yes, ma'am, I agree. Laughingly, because my daughter loves pho. And one day I came home from pho, from a restaurant, and I told her we're making soul pho. So, and meaning, we as Black people, we know what we like. And so we use some of that template and put our own creativity to it. And we thank some of the influence of our Asian and our other Middle Eastern families that give us all these spices that, we can use and take our traditional dishes. So,
yeah.
And like, a pho, however you want to pronounce it, or a tom gai, like I love like a chicken coconut broth with, with the coconut milk in it, and then the spices and those are super comforting foods. And they found that the collagen in them really helps to heal the gut, really helps to heal, and anecdotally, I've heard someone say that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did take broth. I can't confirm that, but there is some suggestion that is not a prohibited food, the broth itself. So, and he did tell us it was okay to put some meat in our beans for seasoning in one of the Eat to Live books. So it's not inconsistent with the teachings. But the point is to find, foods that nourish you, mind, body, and spirit, and to put those in your rotation.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm thinking about as you all speak is that the other part to that is what? Love. The people that were cooking these things for us loved us, and this is also part of it. It's like if you're angry or upset or whatever, just back away from the food. That's all going to go into the food. But cooking is love, and this is why you can sit down and have a big old bowl of whatever. It'll be cereal. Okay, if it's not cooking, I'm veering off of how to eat to live here. But at the end of the day, what's presented with love, and that's why I think what you're saying about the hot stews and pho or soul pho. It's just a big bowl of soup. It's not new food. It's really presented food, or maybe it's from another culture, but it's all the same, if you will. Yes, it's prepared differently. But I want to put.
And speaking of love, we saw your beautiful mom. You had her up. Please turn her to the screen. Beautiful,
ma'am. Gorgeous.
Now, don't tell her she was on here, because when she sees me, she'll say, "Why did you put me on that Facebook?" But this is my mother, Dora Jane Ramey Bob, aka Put, and this is my cousin Stevie. Now I have none of their permissions to do this, but this was at the recent funeral.
So good.
For she's 92. This was for my cousin Sean, and the reason I felt good to put it here because the family's sending stuff, and they. From my mom's phone, it says, "How do you like me now? I'm 92." So I said, "Yeah," but all praises to Allah. She's with us, and this is my cousin Stevie on my father's side. So the love of news, information, all of what I believe that I carry to the Final Call newspaper, my student posts, even here, even just talking about the news of the day and what's happening that's affecting us and impacting us and being a cause, not effect of it. It comes from, of course, thank Allah God, but right in her room with her and my father, watching news. My dad would be at work. I'm right there. She was doing it when I was at home, like keeping me up on what's happening. And now, of course, she's always like, "What's Minister Farrakhan doing? How's the minister? Did you see this?" So I love that. So I just wanted to say, thank you all, mommy. Mommy,
that's so beautiful. Yes, ma'am.
I'm spoiled. Let's get some questions in here because Sister Charlene she gonna do one thing and she's gonna go over there. But do y'all like my Dematis?
I do. I love the color too.
This cap right there. We're going to be talking about Dematis and Let's Get It Clean and all of the things Sisters in the Nation of Islam are doing a lot, and this year we're bringing it to you here. But here we go. Eggs. Sister Kebab, great eggs from your own kitchen. When I left the farm, I cried in the supermarket when I had to buy cucumbers. I went into culture shock when I left, home. But go ahead. That's what she said. Samuel, ex-brother Samuel says, thank you, Sister Kava. Your response to my earlier question. My dear liberated sister, Organo Gold. Okay. The
It's
main
Richie. Okay.
is Richie. So what's the okay, well,
It's a mushroom.
Okay, got it. That coffee was so good. The way it was prepared by, I was a guest in a home. And I think I bought it at one time. I might start getting it again. Excellent discussion. Thank you, Sister Audrey. Thank you all. We also posted that. Love it. Reversal and prevention.
Right.
That's just some of what you all were saying. And Sister Audrey says, beautiful. You are a beautiful reflection of your mother. Oh, praise be to Allah. Ooh, and Hassana as well. Of you, Sister Audrey. This is our dear sister at Virtue Magazine. Among other things, I think her new magazine is Men and Women We Admire. Sister Audrey, would you put a link to it in the chat? If you could, if you're still with us. Okay, Brother Hoyle, Assalamu alaikum. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught the sisters to pray over your food while cooking. Good vibrations. Oh yeah, pray over in and all of that. You can't be, Here she goes. Kaval. I will be doing what you're doing. She's doing a symposium on Alzheimer's and dementia. Do you have specific protocol to prevent or reverse? It is really weighing on our community. Love 92
Sure.
and still mindful. Oh yeah, she's sharp.
So this is the work of Dr. Chris Exley. He said that the only thing that has really been shown, well, I mean, I'm sure there are maybe some drugs, but to actually reverse it was pulling out the aluminum. And so he showed that if you drink a high silica water, like the Fiji water in the square bottles, there are a couple of other brands. One is Volvic. You can look up high silica water. Has to be from a volcano. And no, you can't add the silica back to it. It has to be naturally occurring high silica water. That silica actually binds aluminum. So here's the thing. I think they're spraying the aluminum in the chemtrails. So whether you got the aluminum from vaccination or I actually detoxed aluminum, I could tell because I was really, really tired drinking Fiji water, like 1 bottle a day or whatever for a few weeks. And then a year later, I went to do it again and I had the same effect. And so I think it's because they're like spraying it on us, like in the air or something. So I believe that some people's Alzheimer's and dementia can be caused by aluminum. So his work did show that by drinking like 1 500 ml bottle, like kind of as quickly as possible within 15 to 30 minutes a day, would actually start pulling out some of that aluminum. I know other people have shown, I think, like, I don't know if it's a coconut oil or something. There's certain oils and fats that were really beneficial to the brain. So I would like to say that a lot of that is reversible. They're also finding that it is a form of type 3 diabetes. So we really have to look at our blood sugar and insulin with regard to that. Wow. And one other thing I would say is our Wi-Fi. I think our Wi-Fi is really detrimental. I just did a seminar that in Vita, they showed that in a new paper showed that the higher your Wi-Fi signal in your home, the more neurodevelopmental delays your children had. Yeah. So it's having an impact on our neurobiology. So after we did that, how to protect your home from Wi-Fi, I actually went and bought one of these. It's called Scalar Energy, and it sends a natural signal to sort of counteract the unnatural Wi-Fi signal. And I noticed that my muscles started relaxing almost immediately. And now I sleep better, and it's only gotten better and better and better. So the thing is, our calcium gated voltage gated calcium channels and sodium channels and things are impacted by the Wi-Fi, by the different signals. And so it's constantly giving your muscles like an aberrant signal, but it's actually the same channels are present in your pancreas. So it could actually been stimulating insulin release and causing metabolic syndrome and diabetes. So, and actually, Dr. Marissa Brand, who's going to be on with us on Tuesday, was the one that gave the one on Wi-Fi, and she's going to be discussing scalar energy, which is a technology they use in this little Wi-Fi protector that I got on this coming Tuesday. But when I got that, I noticed such a difference, and so I really think that, I mean, this is a new area. We need so much more research, but it's definitely impacting us negatively, and I think that a lot of us would feel a lot better if we were protecting ourselves better from our Wi-Fi, which we're all like, we can't get rid of it. It's in our lives.
You know what's amazing, sister, is knowing that, right? Again, in the run up and as well as during the pandemic and the lockdowns, I didn't get one 5G, I got two. And when I had the first one, because I signed up with a particular company and that was a promotion, my cable Wi-Fi, everything was going crazy. I just had the most excruciating pains all of a sudden in my teeth. And I was like, what's that just in my ear? And someone pointed out, like, it could be that. And I thought, oh yeah, I had two. So that's something to think about. Here is the information, everyone, her upcoming events, and how can people can just go to the website. If you're not a subscriber, you can subscribe there, right? Would you want to tell them how we can get involved in VITA?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are free pages on like the different vaccines, the childhood schedule, ton of information on the childhood schedule and the COVID vaccines, and some resource pages. But to get access to all of my webinars on all these various topics that I've been mentioning, you just want to join, and it's $13 a month. And then you also get access to our live webinars, which you can ask questions on. And then if you can't make it to the live webinar, they are actually put up on the website for members within like a week. So you can watch everything at your own convenience. That's the whole thing. Because how many times you're like, oh, I was in the middle of listening to this great webinar and then I had to go and now I can't find it, or a podcast or something like that. Where was that information?
Right.
And so the idea is for it to consistently be available to you, everything from Wi-Fi to spike detox to pans and pandas, like if your child's suddenly having a reaction to yeast, or how have you been exposed to mold? It's like basically trying to figure out what might be causing your chronic illness and how can you optimize your health. I have a whole new page on nutritional healing that talks about diabetes and fasting and other things like that. But I also have one on cancer so that you can understand. And it also talks about the newer protocols that have ivermectin and fenbendazole. So I really have something for everyone, whether you're maybe you have to get your foster child vaccinated, or you live in a state where you're going to be vaccinating, or there's vaccines you think you might want. There are ones on preparing your child for a well child visit. There's ones on understanding infant immunity, but there's also ones on cancer. There's also one on genetic predispositions in people of African descent that we should know about that can make our healthcare needs very unique compared to our other, human family. So I think you'll find something for everyone, and you can peruse all of that at your leisure. And, and if you do, there's an option to do the whole year for $120. If you choose to do that, then you can like have a 30-minute consult with me if you want to be like, which direction do you want to point me toward, whatever your particular concerns are.
Wow, 120.
For a year.
For a year, dog. I this past year, I don't even want to talk about since 2022, but this past year, I've probably paid for $100 to $200, 200 people's subscriptions. No lie. See, transfer the money. I mean, I don't do that anymore. But here's the question. Oh, Brother Hoyle first. Thank you, Dr. Parks. Assalamu alaikum. Copper cups are good and water and food. Copper cups are good for water and food purification.
Yeah, and silver was traditionally used as sort of an antibiotic. They would put silver coins in their milk, so silver can also be excellent.
Get out. Love that. Okay, here we go. Wow, thank you. Can you spell the doctor's name? Great information. I think this was, and I'll go back to it. This was the doctor, I think, on your homepage that's going to be presenting?
Dr. Marissa Brand. Yeah, she's I think she has a doctorate, a PhD in natural medicine. So we have many different doctors that are part of our membership alliance. So we have different people talking on different things. She talked about how to protect your family from Wi-Fi, as well as she'll be doing homeopathy and scalar energy coming up on Tuesday. So we have a variety of different practitioners. We had Teresa Holler talking about pans and pandas and also on mold. We had another doctor talking about, is it yeast? Is candida your problem? So, whatever your thing, you're probably going to find something interesting on it.
Yeah, very extensive. Well, Dr. Parks, thank you so much, Sister Dr. Christina X Parks. Sister Pamela, I gave her a camera break. I'd forgotten to do that, but we want to get your closing remarks. I know you had promised to be on, I may have gone past the time, so I want to be respectful there. So do you want to add anything before we go? And I'll continue to keep your information there so people can go to your website. But any closing remarks?
No, just, take it one step at a time. When it feels overwhelming, I would just say, yes, I am really super interested in doing one on water. And I actually contacted someone. There were a few experts in the field that I wanted to have on to do water for me. I can do it myself, but I wanted to have them on, and I couldn't get in touch with some of them, and the other ones didn't respond back. But water is one of my deepest interests. So we will be doing one on water that will eventually probably go on the nutritional healing page. But I would just say, I remember when I was in college and sometimes in graduate school, I'd be in a lecture and I'd be like, I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm gonna have to figure this one out at home, right? I'm gonna have to go back over this material. And what I learned is it's okay to be a little overwhelmed. It's okay not to know. And that if you sit with something or you hear it, like every time you hear it, you will learn it. You will learn it. And so with everything, just take it one step at a time, one piece at a time, and trust, especially if you're in prayer and alignment with God, that God is going to align your path and lead you to what you need to know. So even if it seems overwhelming today, that if you come back, it's all going to kind of sort itself out. So especially because there's so much information, but and everyone has different needs, but that you will find what you're looking for, and that you don't have to know everything or make all the changes today. You can just do it one step at a time. And in fact, one of our first pages that you'll come across if you join my website is Healing, Where Do I Begin? Which we usually begin with opening detox pathways and also and detoxification, detoxing your home, buying better products.
Wow, look at that. Thank you so much, Sister, for being with us again. We look forward to having you soon. Let me just please see, out of respect, Attorney Pamela, any closing remark for Dr. Parks as she goes? Oh, there you go.
Yes,
Yes.
No, it was such an honor. Thank you so much, Sister Dr. Christina X Parks. It was an honor for you to give us this information, and thank you for all that you do. Look forward to hearing more from you. We're so proud of you. I remember that day way back, seeing you on television in the state capitol, I think in Michigan.
I know that was 4 years ago this weekend. That was 4 years ago tomorrow. It was crazy.
Tomorrow, wow. The video went viral. I mean, everybody from all walks of life were talking about you. So
and I appreciate you ladies and Dr. Ridgely for just continuing to give us the information that we need. It's a fast-paced world, and so you taking your time out to summarize the stuff, it's always a blessing to see people serving, and it warms my heart. It just makes me feel like we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
That's right. Thank you. And if I might add, when I got that call from student minister, Dr. Ava Muhammad, and it was pretty much like, we want you to interview her. And I was like, me? It was such a privilege. She and the team sent me in there. And I just thank Allah for having seen you with that video. And of course, there are other people, not the only one that helped connect me with you, but in terms of actually, being allowed in your space and interviewing you, Minister Ava Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with her. put me on that. And I'm so grateful that she did. My life has been forever changed, you know, but she was like, oh, she's brilliant, you know, and you just handled them there. And then subsequently after that, I mean, so much so that I went. It wasn't even my assignment. I was trying to get it, but I still went when you and others, when you spoke in front of the Supreme Court that, okay, we're going to have to talk about that another time.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going down memory lane, but thank you for bringing that up, Sister Attorney Pamela. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll just add one more closing remark. Happy Savior's Day.
Happy
I was invited, you know, to that first Savior's Day, and I really, other than reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, knew very little about the nation. And on my way to the hotel, it went past Mosque Mariam, which I didn't know it was going to. I just like saw people in their garments walking back and forth. And I immediately had this overwhelming feeling of being home. And it was quite a while yet that for me to take the steps to join. But I couldn't deny. And, you know, I just thought, well, why these people are so different than me? Why would I just have such a deep sense of feeling like I just came home? So, you know, praise God for bringing all of us together in the ways that he has.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, give Tess a big hug for me, which is her daughter. Thank you, Dr. Christina. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Stay right there, Sister Pamela. You're not, she wants to go. Stay right there. I know it's past your bedtime. Okay, Sister Pamela, thank you so much because you really helped me this show. Bring your husband and children for me, and God willing, I look forward to speaking with you soon and for next week's show. But is there a way that people can reach you and or support what you are doing? Any website, any information you would like to share of yourself personally so that we can support you?
Oh, thank you so much, Sister Charlene. And so people can call me. Right now, my number is 281-208-3888. I'm here in Houston, and you can always give me a call at my law office, and, you know, love to talk with you.
Okay, let me put that number down again. What is it?
281-208-3888.
281-208-3888.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I know I'm clicking, but I want to be, you know, put it there and then add it. Thank you, Sister Attorney Pamela. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, ma'am.
You all, if you don't mind staying with me and I can close out the show properly. Well, that's big, but that's there. Okay. Let Sister Pamela go. Here, there's some things that I just wanted to mention before I actually sign off. And my little granddaughter, Soraya, actually wanted to speak with you all. But she's not hearing that part, so I'll leave her there. I wanted to tick her. Okay? I do. I just do. Well, that's Sister. Okay, that was Sister Attorney Pamela's number. What is it that I wanted to share? I'm looking at things, and so this. Remember to subscribe, vi-ta.org for Dr. Parks' site. And we have the Ministry of Agriculture Staple Goods Project ready to go. So it was emailed to me, and I will just announce what Brother Kevin sent to me here. Don't have time to put the image there. So the ordering begins on March 22nd. Let's see, noimoa.org. I think that's only fair. There it is. Okay. Let's share that. There it is. Okay. So the Staple Goods Project, serving our communities. This is from Muhammad Forums, actually, but the ordering begins on March 22nd, and you can contact your local staple goods representatives. Again, ours in Los Angeles, Southern California area for Mosque 27, and some of the other mosques is Brother Kevin Muhammad. And so he may come on in the future before the ordering takes place to talk a little bit more about it. I am So sorry. I want to show more of that, but let's just leave it there in the interest of time. So the products are Muhammad Farms whole wheat sifted flour, Muhammad Farms whole wheat pastry flour. We have Muhammad Farms cream of whole wheat. There is Sister Ann's Kitchen buttermilk cream of whole wheat muffin and bread mix. There is Muhammad Farms wheat seeds, navy beans. Shout out to Dr. Christine and all of those who are growing their own. I was fascinated to see her beans. Which you all can go to her Instagram page. She has videos galore. She posts, I if not twice a day, it appears that way. She's very active in her social media posts, continually giving us information. Okay, so I said that there's the wheat muffin and bread mix. Oh my God, I bought some one time. I bought a lot for everyone. I was so disappointed because I forgot, as when I was growing up, we used to always take care of that wheat right away when we would get it and handle it because of boll weevils. So I bought about 5 to 7 bags, and I opened them up, and the little boll weevils were just having a ball. And I'm like, okay, I know I could have done something different with it to still do something with it, but I was just like so far removed from the farm and the land. I was just like, ew. So, okay, but that was me because I let it sit a long time. The product got to me at a great time. It's just my handling of it when I got there. So some of what Sister Dr. Christina shared about what to do in terms of how to preserve our own food, how when we get it fresh and how to take care of it is very key, because I let my wheat sit. So that's a neat thing. That's not a farm thing. So here, navy beans, 50 pounds, small red beans. We have black beans, brown lentils, as well as brown rice and Demaria sugar. So there's more. There is way more, but I won't go into that. There's some other things that I wanted to share in terms of some authors. So what I will do is that next time bring the images, but I'll announce them. Sister Sajda Wendy Muhammad and Sajda House, stay tuned to what she's doing. She's active. You can find her most recent events on her page. We have Sister Naira Muhammad and Brother David Muhammad with Repair of the Black Family. I'll get more into some of the things that they have there that can help you, as well as I'm partaking of some things. I love how we have something for everyone. The believers and those who we team up with have so many different products, but they're all aiming to do the same thing. And we have a choice in this great garden. So I am grateful that you all tune into Liberated Sisters. I'm grateful to be able to be here on the air speaking to you. And I pray that the delivery of the information on my part came across, but I know for sure that what Dr. Christina X. Parks shared, as well as Sister Attorney Pamela Muhammad, hit the mark. And so I would like to say, on behalf of Liberated Sisters, we do appreciate Closing the Gap Broadcast Network. Our mother show is on Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so we will go out with some music, and I'll just run back some of the comments. And again, I popped out of the show accidentally. So if you all are still there, which I do kind of see you, let's put this in, and thank you for tuning in. We'll end the stream soon. Wonderful. I'll get some music.
liberated, freed, released, free from traditional social restraints.